And West Branch comes up with the victory as they come back and defend their state championship by shutting out the Salem Quakers. Your final score tonight, West Branch 21 and Salem nothing. With Gary Goddard, this is Todd Bell. And Gary, as the West Branch band walks off the field and plays to the home crowd tonight, well, more smiles around Clinton Haycock Stadium, and they're not used to losing. 51 of 54 games they have won, and only lost to two different teams. They've done well in the playoffs, obviously last year 4-0, and when a team knows how to win a game, it's just carried on through tradition that, you know, hey, we're going to win this football game. And they were up 7-0 at halftime. The Quakers were obviously still very much in the ball game all the way until they drove the ball to the 3-yard line. A penalty hurts them. They can't get it into the end zone. And what does West Branch do? They come right back, they score, and they put the ball game away. And they had the ability to deliver that knockout punch tonight against the Quakers.
Well, you have to take advantage of what your opponent is going to give them, and Salem gave it to them. I mean, a lot of opportunities in big, pretty wrapped boxes tonight. I tell you what, the penalty, the first one, when the West Branch was going to punt, and Salem would have had the ball to open the game when it was still 0-0, and a penalty. West Branch, what do? They get the ball back and score on that. The other penalty, when you said the Quakers get it down to the 3-yard line, that brings it back out to the 22. Can't get it in after that. They tried field goal, and it was just a little wide. So it was the story of what might have been for Salem tonight, and you're right. West Branch took advantage of everything the Salem Quakers gave them, because when you look at the stats, fairly even. The first half, the Quakers dominated the stats. Second half, West Branch had the advantage, and it evened out pretty even. Penalties is what did it for Salem then.
Yeah, you are right. And well, let's look at some of the bright spots tonight. Jason Humphreys doesn't look like he's missed a step since last season. And you know, new quarterback Jim Martin really didn't seem, there was no bad handoffs. He looked good throwing the football tonight. Ryan Jones had a real good night receiving the football. Todd McLaughlin made a couple of tough catches tonight. One sitting down, one he got popped just as he caught the football. Defensively, first half, shutting West Branch down, rushing the football, held them to 25 yards, and the defensive line was doing a very good job in the first half. It was only until midway through the third quarter and the fourth quarter did West Branch really pile it on running the football, and by that time they were a little demoralized up front and just didn't have that drive to get the job done. But a lot of bright spots on this team, and did we see anything wrong with West Branch tonight? I mean, I think a lot of questions were answered. West Branch, one offensive starter back, one defensive starter back. They come out and score 21 points, don't give up a point to a pretty decent offensive team, and they're just going to be a force to be reckoned with. One thing one of their assistant coaches told me last week, we may not be that team that wins 50-0. It just may be 14-7 or 20-14. They're not going to have their usual blowouts that they've had because they're not as explosive. But if the defense is going to give up any points, you only got to score one.
That's true, and solid. we saw their running back in the future here, Nesbitt, the solid job. Griffith comes in. Man, what big shoes he has to fill. And Attic, very good job tonight. He's answered some questions for the Warriors, and again, the season starting the same way for Salem with the loss. Got to come back. I know a lot of folks are thinking, oh man, now it's over with the playoffs and all that, but it's game one. You don't have to worry about that yet. It's a non-league game. Let the cards fall where they may, but still, the Quakers will bounce back from this. I'm sure Coach Bourne will have some talks, and he's not the kind of coach that goes in there, and I don't think, will yell at the kids, but they'll learn from this is what they'll do.
All right, let's go ahead and run down some of the final stats in this ball game, Gary.
Well, you mentioned the total offense, and it did even out. The first half, West Branch just 25 yards rushing, and they end up with 204. So that tells you they get 175 on the ground in the second half, and they really evened it out there. Passing yards, they didn't put it up in the second half. 76 yards total, 280 for the West Branch Warriors to 221 for Salem. So advantage there for West Branch. Quarterbacks tonight, Martin was 6 of 14 with no interceptions. Griffin was 5 of 10, one interception. So a good job there. Both teams had trouble holding on to the ball. The fortunate side for both teams is they both recovered it. Both teams fumbled twice, recovered twice. Here's the big thing, though. West Branch with 4 penalties, but they were the baby 5-yard kind of things. The Quakers 6 penalties, the 15-yard clipping, 2 personal fouls, a hold.
Yep, on a key situation.
6 penalties adds up to 67 yards there, and that's way too many. But you might get that in the first game. And they had 3 for 32 in the first half. They ended up with 6 to 67. Third down conversions. This is another thing that Salem just was dominant in last year. They were 4 of 11 tonight. That's got to improve. They had 3 in a row to start off that first drive in the second half. So 3 of those 4 came in that first drive when they did get it down to 3 and didn't score. West Branch solid, 4 out of 8. The Quakers 0 for 3 on fourth down conversions. West Branch was 0 for 0. And of course, time possession, we don't know, but the clock went out. But it was solidly in West Branch's favor.
Certainly was. Some individual numbers in tonight's game. The leading ball carrier, 27 carries, 127 yards tonight for Kim Nesmith, doing a fine job. He fills in for Jeremy Stevens, who graduated last year. Shiloh Brown, 4 carries, 50 yards for him. He had a pretty good night in key situations carrying the football. For the Quakers, leading ball carrier was Jason Humphreys, had 76 yards on 13 carries, only 16 yards, make that 15 yards in the second half of play. Really the only shining spot rushing the football for the Quakers. Ryan Jones had receptions tonight of 20 and 24 yards, while McLaughlin had catches for 22 and 13 yards. So that does it as far as the stats. We'll pause for a timeout. We're Lee Strung. When we come back, we'll take a look at the scoring and get some plays from tonight's victory for the West Branch Warriors, as they are a winner tonight, 21-0. We'll be back with the scoring after this.